Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of So Now You're a Teacher. I am your host, Liesl McConchie, international expert on brain-based learning, author, teacher, and mother of 3 who just finished her first girls' night on Zoom. Stay connected out there, friends. It's really important. In this episode, we're going to answer the question, does my child even need to be doing any schoolwork right now? Well, it all depends on the stress level in your child and in your home. First and foremost, we got to handle that stress. So if you need to go back, review episodes 1 through 3, continue to work on stress levels. And keep in mind that stress levels are probably going to go through some phases as we go through the different phases with this pandemic. Maybe you're feeling like you're getting a little bit settled with this new routine and stress levels are decreasing. But as cases rise, we'll start, I anticipate that many of us will start learning of people that we know about who have contracted COVID-19, and then there'll be the massive amounts of death. So just keep a good pulse on your stress level and continue to go back to episode 3 and recheck in with yourself and keep those stress levels low for you and for your child. Now, assuming stress levels are under control, let's talk about, does your child even need to be doing any schoolwork? Now, I know that every school is handling things very differently. I've talked to many teachers and principals and superintendents this week, and everyone's doing this their own way. Some have the big packets, some have the Chromebooks going home, some are just handing out meals because that's what their community needs right now. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing that's happening right now that I'm just so inspired by. So teachers, thank you for what you are doing. Us parents, we're here, we're ready to take the baton and do the best that we can do. We know you're doing the best that you can in these circumstances, and we're here to do the best that we can. So we're going to continue to work together. But regardless of the circumstance of what's being shared with you from your child's school, let's talk about what would be really helpful for our children here. Now, here's the deal. In the world of education, there's a term we use called the summer slide. Now, the summer slide is the term that we use to describe the backward slide that students take during the summer months. Students lose a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning during the summer months. It's too long away from school. And one of my biggest concerns, aside from chronic stress, which is my absolute biggest concern, outside of that, my next concern is that students are going to forget so much. If these memes are true that I'm seeing that hey, summer break has started, I'm just really worried about what our education system is going to be like when we all come back, whenever that happens. And students have been away from learning for a very, very long time. So let's be careful not to create a corona slide with our children and their education. Because here's what happens during the summer, and here's what could be happening right now if we neglect to keep our children's brains active. The brain's memory system is actually very, very flawed. You might think what? I thought the human brain was amazing. It is. It's amazing. But it is very flawed, and it forgets a lot of things. It's flawed in that it forgets a lot, and it's also flawed that it remembers, but it often remembers incorrectly. So let's talk about forgetting, because that's our biggest concern right now. It's highly susceptible to forgetting. Now, why is that? Well, because the brain, again, is designed for survival. And so because it's designed mostly for survival, all it usually does is it just kind of captures the gist of what's going on in a given situation to see if there's any relevant information to keep you alive. It's a really great feature. You're alive. We need this. But what happens is that a lot of details get lost in the process because they're not very relevant. So it just does a quick scan. Yep, that's important. Hang on to that. Nope, we don't need that one. And is that one going to be important? I got the general gist of this. And so a lot of things forgotten. I believe, personally, I don't have scientific evidence to confirm this. I probably should look it up. Maybe there is. But it is possible that that is the main reason why any of us ever have more than one child. Because if we've remembered all the details of pregnancy and the birthing process and those first few months of having a baby, I don't understand why anyone would ever have another one. And then it's like that first contraction comes again, and then whoosh, all the memories come back. And it's like, what have I done again? So the brain's really good at forgetting, and thank goodness, because we continue to stay alive as a species. I don't know. So let's talk about forgetting and your child and their schooling. So here's what happened for us this morning. Even just this morning, my 5-year-old was writing in his dinosaur research journal that the Brontosaurus is 75 feet tall. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, I forgot how to write a 7. Now, Dane has been out of school, my son Dane, he's in kindergarten, he's been out of school for a week and a half, and he's already forgotten how to write a 7. Now, part of this, a lot of this is my responsibility as his parent, because Dane hasn't touched a single math worksheet since he's been home. When we discussed this as a family and with Dane, he decided that he wanted to learn about negative numbers during this time, which as a math teacher made me thrilled. I was really excited to teach negative numbers. And so we've been doing math games and things on the computer and our own like little manipulative things to help him discover negative numbers. And I completely neglected to put a pencil in his hand and have him practice writing some of these things. And now he's forgotten how to write a number 7. Now, that's going to be a problem if he goes back into first grade next year and has forgotten how to write a 7. So how is all this happening? Let's take a look at the brain. Well, when we first learn something new, the first moments where we're capturing new information, it's processed up here in the front of the brain in working memory. It then goes to short-term memory, which is led by a lot of different regions of the brain, but mostly here in this red region called the hippocampus. It runs the short-term memory show. And then if we're lucky, it gets transferred to long-term memory, which is housed all over in the cerebral cortex, the outer part of the brain. It's just like in all these different parts. The details of it are not important for our purposes right now. Maybe I'll drop a couple articles that I've written about this in some of the comments if you want to like dig in deeper. I write about these things all the time on my blog. That you could check out. It's just lieselmcconchie.com. It's very easy to find if you want more details. But for now, because there's so many different steps and layers and pieces, it's just really common for things to get mixed up. And not everything makes it to long-term memory. I mean, think for yourself. How much of what you learned in formal education do you actually remember? Not a lot. Not a lot actually makes it from short-term memory out to long-term memory. And that's just the reality of our brain and how it works. Now, why is that? Well, the thing is that even the ones that do make it to long-term memory, they don't always hold steady. The ones that make it long-term and stay steady are the ones that are highly relevant or get used a lot. That's what's most important for us to remember right now. Highly relevant and get used a lot. So the takeaway here is this. The brain forgets a lot. It remembers what's most important, and we tell our brain what's most important by how frequently we engage with that information. We get to communicate to our brain, hey brain, this is important, hang on to it. How do we do that? By making sure that our children are continuing to engage in some of the basic skills that they're going to need going back to school. Make sure they're writing every day. Make sure they're reading every day and doing some kind of basic math. Some of those other things, if stress levels are still high, hang on to those. Maybe we'll get back to those. Now, please don't send this email to your school, to your principal and say, hey, brain expert Liesl McConchie says we don't have to do all their schoolwork. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's just do the best we can right now to help our children not forget some of the critical skills. If your child is doing well, encourage them to do as much of their schoolwork as possible. It will continue to serve them. So let's recap. Help your child get their stress under control. Then be sure they're re-engaging with most critical skills that they are going to need when they get back to school. Now, the goal here is to keep the brain healthy enough by de-stressing and active enough to not forget all that they've learned. That's what we're talking about. Those are my two biggest concerns, stress and forgetting. Now, moving forward, oh man, this is going to get exciting, because moving forward, we're going to take a look at how we can design the most brain-friendly learning environments in your own home. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so fun. Get ready. The first thing that's coming back to school, that's right, it's PE. Get ready to be blown away by the research that supports PE and physical activity in general to help your child do all sorts of things. We'll start with stress regulation, we'll go into learning, and then also to improve student behavior. It's going to be amazing. See you soon, guys. Hey, remember, take a deep breath. Oxygen's good for the brain.